class, in one of the Avid classrooms, and so came back this year to support you. So what I have to offer is this. I do some work in Tulsa with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro Tulsa, and there is a free ACT program that, because I'm here in Muskogee serving, that I have availability for you as well. And so what this is, there's a software system called Naviance, and it is it's completely online. The 4 areas that are assessed on the ACT, which is math, reading comprehension, there's a writing portion, there's also science, and then there's language arts. And so knowing that those 4 areas are assessed on the ACT, and so online, what happens is typically you'll come on, you'll log in with you'll get your username and password, we'll use your Ruffers account email address. And like I said, this is it's completely free. And so you'll have access to not only a diagnostic assessment, so the first thing is you'll take like a sample practice test basically. And so it'll take about 4 hours. So I probably would suggest like taking it not during the weekday when you have school, but it would be great perhaps maybe a Saturday or Sunday when you could devote at least about 4 hours or so. That way you would be able to see where your strengths are, and then also what areas of growth. I don't like to say the word weakness because it's kind of negative if you think of it. So I like to say an area of growth. And so you also can plug in the date that you're gonna take the ACT exam. And so let's say, for example, I'm gonna take it in January, and let's say that it's October when I sign up. When I first sign in, it's going to ask you what your intended ACT date is going to be. And so then you'll input that date in. And so it'll tell you every time you log in after that, you've got maybe 100 days left until your test. And so that way you can progress monitor and track your own progress, meaning like I know that I've got 3 months remaining until I take the ACT, but nevertheless, I'm gonna have to make sure that I'm budgeting my time. And so as a part of being in a leadership class like this, one of those qualities that leaders possess is the concept of being very cognizant of your time and your time management. And so you wanna make sure that you're maximizing your time as you're preparing for the ACT. There's one young lady that is going to be considered now over the work that I do in Tulsa, because she took part of the program, she participated in the program, really took it seriously, and so she got a $96,000 scholarship to the University of Tulsa. And so that's a very expensive school, and so not only with her grade point average, but with her online supports that she used with that Naviance software, she grew her ACT score, and she ended up, I think she got a 27. And so knowing that, that's very high. And so before that, I think her first score was about a 20. And so that just lets you know that this is a free resource for you that's gonna walk you through really all that you would need to be aware of or to be strengthened in your academics that'll be assessed on the ACT. So there's lessons in there that are specific that can also help you in your traditional coursework as you sit from class to class now. And I know that we're doing a lot of things that are online. We've got virtual days versus in-body days. And so knowing that this program, while you're at home or wherever you might be with Wi-Fi access, you will be able to then also work, and it can strengthen your academics. I know specifically like within the math component, it breaks it down from geometry, algebra 1, algebra 2, and down to the concepts such as finding the slope of a line, all of those elements. And so it breaks it down for you. So I would say take advantage of that. And then in addition to the online software system, because you work at your own pace with that, but there is also an additional weekly component that comes out from me that are some are PowerPoint, some are instructional videos or support aids for you as you're preparing for college. I was first generation college, meaning that my parents did not go, or they went, but they didn't graduate from college. And so I was the first in my family to go to college and to graduate. And so knowing that it's very, very challenging. I've been on a college campus when I graduated high school in 2008. I went to the University of Oklahoma in Norman, and not being prepared, I went to Booker T. Washington High School, and you know, it has national recognition, but nevertheless, I got to the campus and there's 28,000 students, and you know, I struggled. I didn't know where to go for as resources with tutoring, or as even understanding what the bursar was. I didn't know what that was. It sounded weird, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it did, or any of that, or knowing about, filling out scholarship applications, things of that nature. And so I don't want you to rack up a bunch of debt, and I don't want you, because those student loans, while it looks good on the front end, on the back end, and you can ask Ms. Dawkins and Ms. Bunch, it's not cool on the back end of paying that student loan back, because the thing is, you've got that thing called interest, and so it's gonna build, and so it's gonna come to the part where you think you're just working to pay off student loans. And so the piece is, the more you buckle down and build yourself and invest yourself in the time that remains as you prepare for the ACT test, overall, it's gonna help you. Because if you have one of those really, really high scores on your ACT, that's free money. That's a ticket to get wherever it is you wanna go. Some state and local colleges and universities, if you have a high enough score, college is paid for, okay? And that's still a reality. So definitely always set that goal and set it very high. And so, like I said, this is a free resource for you to be able to support what's happening here, right here in every classroom. So what I have for you is actually the flyer. There is a link that your parents would have to go online and just fill out, but it's very simple. Like I said, everything is free, but I've got the sign-up sheet for you, and I just ask for those that are interested, just write legibly for me, meaning so I can read it. So I don't want to get your email account wrong or anything like that, because you won't get the information if I don't have it written out just right. Not saying that you don't, but I know sometimes we, even myself included, I have to be cognizant that others are reading this. So just make sure that it's legible for you. But ultimately, the emails and things like that will be coming from me, and that'll be on a weekly basis, such as writing that really high school entrance resume, because that's very important to have as you're applying for colleges and universities, because they want to see that. They want to see you're communicating to another individual who is there. You become a number as you apply for college. You become a number. And so, they don't know you, you don't know them. And so with that in mind and knowing that, you want to make sure that you're communicating through even your goal statement as you prepare for college, that you are articulating and clearly articulating your goals and aspirations as it relates to the college and the university that you are seeking attendance into. And so all of those things are things that I've had firsthand experience. And then also, as if it need be, I've written letters of recommendation to support those that are preparing for college, and that would pretty well be where we would just sit down. I get to understand and know a little bit about you, and then I can write a very general letter of recommendation to support you in the absence if there are others, other than, like you say, your life coaches, administrative team members here, as well as your teachers. But ultimately, this is a support and a tool to help you. I think some of the other topics that have gone out is simply about financial aid and understanding what that is, especially when we get to college, because it's one thing to really know what financial aid does, but when you come into accepting the actual loans, each loan, you really need to know what it is fully that you're accepting, and then also knowing too that when that time comes for you to pay that back, that you're also thinking about that. But we wouldn't even have to get to that if you've got that high enough ACT score that college becomes a reality and paid for. Because even with like OLAP and some of the other, and then if you even do Tulsa Achieves with TCC, there are some funds that are still going to be required of you at the end of that. And so just be cognizant of that. But just even researching the local colleges and universities and the programs and the different courses that they offer, those are things that you'll be getting in those weekly supports. And so I think in the environment that we're in, there'll likely be some Zoom sessions where you will have a link that you could just access the Zoom meeting room with other local high school students in Tulsa Public Schools, and then also engage in conversation with myself and then the other ACT coordinator for the Tulsa area. So I know that I've said a lot, but nevertheless, it's here, and it's a support, and I'm a testimony of that, having gone through a similar program and coming from, many of the backgrounds that we all share. So, taking it seriously from day one, but definitely never pass up an opportunity to learn more and to grow. So, are there any questions that anyone has? I know I said a lot. Yes.
So first off, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you offering this program to us, because with the public schools, I totally love my education here and wouldn't trade it.
Yes.
But I do feel like at times we are at a disadvantage to the private and charter schools that I have friends in it, where they're like, oh yeah, half of our math class is ACT prep. Your school doesn't do that, and so I really appreciate you offering this to us. And I was wondering, you said that we would have to take the practice not SAT, my bad, ACT. When does that need to be done by?
So this is the thing. Once you get an online, I set you up an account.
Yes.
And then it sends you it pre-populates your email, and so then you'll access your email. You'll go in and then you'll create your username, and your username will be created. A password, I'll create that for you, so you'll log in for the first time. You'll put your first ACT intended date of the assessment. So like if you know what date you want to test, or if you don't know quite yet, that's still okay. Plug in a date in the spring, and that way it'll just say every time you log in that up until that date you have this many amount of days.
Yes.
And then there's a feature on how to navigate when you go into assessments. It's off on the left hand side, and it's called the diagnostic assessment. And the diagnostic assessment is that exam that I would say take that as a precursor, and then that's going to give you a baseline score of each area that is assessed on the ACT. And then from there, you can then begin studying in the areas of growth that are identified in that diagnostic assessment.
Thank you. So I've taken the ACT 3 or 4 times already. So am I able to put those scores in already?
Well, in that program, the scores that you have, because this is a supplement, so it's not necessarily, it wouldn't have a use for your ACT scores.
Okay.
But however, so that you can track your progress before and after, I think there's a place on that application where you would indicate maybe perhaps what your score was previously, the highest of the 3, and then you'll be able to juxtapose, meaning compare, once you have taken the ACT, after you've worked with the program, and you can see, you can track your growth there as well. But ultimately, the highest score is what the colleges and that's what I would report and have them send to, when you're registering, they typically ask you which local college or which colleges or universities you want to have that score report sent to.
Okay. How cool. This is such a cool program. Will we be doing, you mentioned a Zoom meeting, will those be weekly?
The Zoom meetings will possibly be, I'm thinking it might be bi-weekly, so probably every 2 weeks. I think right now we're trying to get everyone signed up and seeing what our numbers are, and then being able to push that link out to have people to join on and sign on that way. Yeah.
Awesome. And then I have one more. And
No problem. You're fine. You're fine.
So will we have the Khan Academy sends it like a daily ACT and SAT question? Will it be something like that where?
No, I don't think that function is had with with the Naviance program. But what I would say is this: those are great additional tools as well, and I would take those seriously if they come to you daily. Yeah. This is going to be a database where you go in and you control the information that you take in.
So it's a self-directed.
Self-guided, yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. Great questions. Great questions. Yes, sir.
Do you know what scores? How do I rephrase that? What is like the average score to get into a school like either OU or is it Howard and BC?
Typically, you say Howard as the HBCU and the East Coast. Okay. Yes, and so typically I say this. They sometimes have general guidelines that they like to have.